Why, hello there. Well, it's a Friday evening. I am pretty tired once again. I've discovered that maybe Friday evenings are not the best time to be streaming because I tend to be very tired at the end of the week in the evening. Weird how that works. Um, yeah, I was actually considering canceling tonight just because I'm feeling kind of burned out. I don't know. I've been working really hard, and the time change really sort of kicked our collective butts at home this week. So I kind of, yeah, I'm in a not great place right now for programming, which is probably not the best way to start out a screen. Woo, hey, I'm really tired. This might not be a good stream because I'm really tired, which I feel like is how I start all my streams. So maybe I need to actually reschedule when I do this because yeah, it's not not super ideal to be tired all the time while streaming. Also, I'm not hearing any music. Are you hearing any music? I see levels for music. What's going on? Check, check, check. That's my mic. Pause. Music goes away. We have music again. Okay, you have music, but I don't. That's bizarre. Checking out the headphones. Playing with the volume. Okay. Opening up loopback to see what's going on with that. Do, 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 do. Check, check, check. Okay. Check, 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 check. Something is very wrong, and I cannot figure out what it is. Oh, great. I've lost my volume controls. Okay, well, I'm just going to assume that you guys have Final Fantasy music and that you can hear it. I have no idea why I can't. That is quite annoying. Quite annoying, but I can see the levels, so I know it's there. Curious. Alright, well, in that case, there's not much point in wearing these. Yeah, so where are we at? Last week we were working on getting our card view to look not garbo, or our draw view to look better, rather. The cards at the bottom, I should probably show you the screen. The cards at the bottom are just a block right now. I was trying to get them to look like a fan, and I did this whole layout that just completely didn't work, and I'm not entirely sure why. We got this working with a gesture recognizer so that we can like drag it around, and if we drag it far enough, then it snaps back. That animation could be a little faster. But we determined that it's not going back to the right spot, which is why it appears to sort of like weirdly snap into place there. That like still seems to work. It is not, I think it is still snapping upwards. This is actually like looking like it's still the wrong size once it gets to the terminus of the animation. Could be wrong about that. Those are the two things we were working on last week. So I said that I was going to try and work on the layout stuff between last week and this week. I totally did not do that. did not really have the time, unfortunately. So I'm going to go back to trying to figure out this stuff, and we'll see what happens. Rock Pusher has music now. Trial and error. Scheduling seems to be a streamer rite of passage. Yeah. Music is down to go down a little. Okay, this we can do. Okay, thank you, Rock Pusher. Yeah, I think that Friday night is maybe not the best time to do this, but it's a matter of trying to find a time where my daughter is asleep and I can reliably do it. So like if it's not going to be Friday night, it'll have to be like midday on a weekend day, because other weekend nights or other weeknights are not good. Okay, so let's try and figure out what's going on with this nonsense. So like, because what we want is to have it transition smoothly, and what we're getting is here it goes down, and if we wait for the transition to actually complete, which for some reason takes forever, it just goes up slightly. And if we do the draggy thing, it goes to totally the wrong place. And then snaps down. So this should be the same transition that's taking place. Like, I don't know, it might just be easiest to try and do it with the frame. I really don't want to use the frame, but doing this weird sort of backwards thing is not great either. Is there an easier way that we could do this? Okay, so when we start the transition, like card view, so we get the from view, and we get the to view, which for some reason, again, we can't get just the view. We have to get the view controller and then get the view from the view controller, which is bizarre. Still have not figured out why that is. Draw view controller, dot collection view. So we get the size that the collection view is rendering the card at. And we set our scale to the percentage of the frames. Now, so it's possible that this is where something's going wrong. So let's start there. Oh no, slow animation's still on. Oh my gosh. They're so slow. Okay, 75. 88. Okay, so interesting. That's why it's being scaled down less, because the transform is actually affecting the frame. And so, how do we resolve that? I thought the transform would not affect the frame, but apparently it does. Because, yeah, the smaller... You remember we're scaling this down as we move it. Yeah, the smaller it gets, the more the frame is affected. So... So step one, let's get the scale to always work correctly. How do we do that? We should be able to, like, it's already got a transform applied to it. Okay, actually, first let's have a look at what is actually happening during the animation. So, um, so we're just setting a new transform. Okay. So right now we have one transform that is diminishing the size. So we need to... if it has a current transform, I wonder if we can just basically modify the existing transform. So like that. So now, in theory, we should be scaling the existing scale instead of scaling whatever it was before. Let's try that. Or scaling... You get what I'm saying. Scaling... We are scaling the existing scale... Yes. Instead of making an absolute scale that is a smaller transition than we should otherwise need. So let's see what that does. So that works the same, which is what we expect, because when it's in this state, the scale is not changed. Okay, so now we're not getting any translation at all. So that's not good. I mean, obviously, if we just get the the scale when it has no transform, the frame size when it has no transform, then we don't need to worry about it. But of course, we're not playing in absolutes here. It's another like another spot where I feel like it would just be very helpful to have like a helper that gets the size. Assume that the scaling does change the bounds and the now it works perfectly. Okay, interesting. So that's not like tracking perfectly anymore, though. That's weird. Or is it? Maybe it is. I'm just not noticing it. So interesting. The transform does change the bounds, but it doesn't change the scale. Okay, so how... What is the... So that looks pretty good now. This is always the same, which is what we want. So now, at least we have the same problem for both of them, and that is that it is vertically offset. Now, I thought it was the status bar height that was doing it, but let's just remove that for a sec and see what happens. That's interesting. The view's bounds when a transformer applied stay the same, but the frame changes according to the transform. Curious. So it could just be me, but I think that's worse. Yeah, it's definitely a bigger jump. So for whatever reason, this is being offset, and I think that the offset is equal to this height. I'm not entirely sure of that, but that would make sense. So what are the implications there? That so let's draw another card. Okay. So draw another card. Okay. Back here. And let's just have a look at the layers and see what's happening. So, yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, so that's... So there's our collection view. The cards are all sitting inside it, as they should be. And I think it's this height that we're losing. So let's do a more thorough... Thanks, Xcode. Xcode, quit! Awesome. We are now we're gonna get a message in like 10 minutes that's like Xcode quit unexpectedly. Yeah, I know. I know it did. Xcode always quits. Da, da, da. Indexing. I think I need to change the name of that emoji, but then it'll go back into processing for a while. But I think I need to change it to K, like a lowercase k, and then buffer, so that it's GUI duck buffer, not. And then it's also a joke because you name constants with a K at the beginning of them a lot of the time in C code. Okay, so let's have a look at. So we are just. Oh, stop. Don't build the iPad. We restarted Xcode, so it's doing its thing again. Okay, let's try. Right. Where did I declare center? I don't. Yeah, of course, there it is. It's very possible that I'm doing this wrong. Yeah, because surely it should be no draw view, carousel view. Yeah, that's right. I think it is. So this is like within normal tolerances, but this is definitely off by a bunch. So that is kind of what we expected. Um, so the problem is this line. Um, let's just get center of UI collection view cell in super view. You would think that would work. Xcode quit unexpectedly. Oh, I didn't know. Yeah, need a computer that is fast. We can try this. Those should be the same thing. Yeah, it's the same problem. Okay. Yeah, Rockworcher, I think everything is taxing on the poor laptop. Poor laptop. Let's release this app, and then maybe we can make a little bit of money and buy a new laptop. Though again, to go off on the same rant that I've been on so many times, I don't want to buy a new laptop from Apple this year right now. I'm really hoping they refresh their entire line, and then there will be better laptops to buy. Okay, so this needs to be fixed. How do we plan on fixing it? The We know that the scale of so let's just try this with a those are the layout attributes. Maybe that's not what we want. Maybe we just want the frame of the cell or the center of the cell. Maybe that's the problem. Okay, so how do we do that? We say let equals dot collection view carousel view dot cell for item at index path, and then we have the index path. Sorry, we lost our iPad for a second. Okay, so there we get, that gets us a reference to the cell. And then we'll say, instead of target cell attributes, we'll just say target cell dot center. And then we don't know if we have a cell there, so we actually have to say so we need to move this up to our guard statements. Okay, I guess we'll go back to using this. I'm gonna load it all into one line for that. Am I using the attributes for anything else? It's not optional anymore. Okay, so like I don't know that a Hackintosh is where I want to go here, Rock Pusher. Like it could be. It's an interesting thought. All right, let's see if this happens. If this works. No, it still goes to the same spot. Damn. Okay. Hackintoshes have all sorts of overhead with regard to updates and whatnot that I don't really particularly want to deal with. So So 57. In theory, that's 36 points up here. Right? 320 across, 341 up and down. So if I just say what is it even? Like I really want this to work in like a non-hacky silly way, and I feel like I wonder if. Oh, there's an interesting proposition. No, that doesn't make sense. Like, does it? That couldn't be it. Good at. Am I just miscalculating the center of the from view as opposed to the to view? I've been focusing too much on. No. Okay. Okay, so feel like I'm burning so much time on this. And it is kind of ridiculous. It's probably something really simple. Let's see if the targets actually line up here. Interesting. So what does that mean? Okay. So we're just going to work out the center points of each of these views manually based on where they are in the view and see what we get. And see if the predictions line up with the actuals. And they do. They add up perfectly. Is the problem just that I'm scaling it at the same time? Do I need to translate more? Because if we're going top to top as opposed to center, and one's bigger than the other one. That's even worse. Why is that worse? Oh, this sucks. Why does math not work? It's like that's not starting in the right spot either. Horizontally, it's not starting in the right spot. There is still some offset. What is causing that? Hey, Nicaro. We're back to dealing with weird offsets in stuff. Do I have them backwards? Maybe? Somehow? I don't think I do, but... For this animation, at least, they're going to be the same. For this half of this animation, these two should both be in the same spot. Like it's not moving horizontally. Did I just transpose them? No, that goes in the wrong direction. Okay. But maybe... No, that can't be it. Like... Maybe that... Is that it? No, that... Right, of course, that's exactly the same thing. So... See, that's very close, but I'm just adding a magic number there to make it work. I wonder if it has to do with the fact that it's being scaled and resized at the same time. Because the problem with this is that because all of our views are relative to the size of the screen, like this might appear to work. But it'll stop working as soon as we change the dimensions, which is why I want to find a way of doing it that doesn't rely on that kind of just why does the number 22 or 23 or whatever it actually ends up being work? I'm not entirely sure. There we go. We got it, folks. We did it. We figured it out. Yeah, it's because we were applying this transform and then this transform. And so we need to have that one take the previous one into account. Oh my gosh. Okay, let's try it on the other side and make sure that it works on the grow animation too. Oh my gosh. If we figured this out, I will be so happy. But that looks basically perfect. So this one is still not quite perfect because of that. Times 1 scale. Looks pretty good. Let's slow the animations now. So this was like slightly offset before. Let's see if it comes like right from the card frame, which is what we want it to do. That looks like it's doing what we want it to. Okay. Okay. Good. Good. I think we got there. That is amazing. Bursts of inspiration sometimes will get you there. So what do we need to do here? Let's delete the, because it's basically all this math was adding up exactly how I thought it should, so that didn't make sense. So it does make sense though that these transforms were sort of interfering with each other, with what I wanted them to do. So that being solved, and this transition, yeah, looks good. Oh, okay. So one of the big problems of the night has been solved. And it's only 8:15. So that's something. It's a pretty good interaction. Okay. So I got rid of the logging. Good. Let's just run it without the logging, just to make sure that I didn't mess anything up. Okay. So now what? Now well, that's not good. So I'm going to say fix draw view to card view transition math. Commit that. And then add gesture dismiss to card view. Okay. Feeling good about that. I think ideally this would like rotate and stuff, and we'd be able to actually like fling it off the screen, which we totally can't do here. But that's fine. We can, maybe get that in a future update. So now we come to this, which I was really not looking forward to doing, but we've got to do it. So, what do we want? We want to create the layout for this collection view, which we are going to do from scratch because apparently updating the... I'm just going to check one thing with that actually. So let's go back to our branch where we were working on that, the fan layout branch. as I recall with this, oh, I built the iPad. I'm like, why did I lose my second monitor? Because I changed something, and of course, then it decided that the iPad needed to be the thing that was running the device. Oh my gosh, all the windows are moving around. Okay. Glad we solved at least one of those problems that's been dogging us forever. So the problem here was that... Okay, so that's being called for sure. But... And yet... this is still not changing as we want it to. So that's not good. So we get the layout attributes. Create an array of final layout attributes. We say okay, so we're doing nasty things here that this doesn't like in the first place. So I wonder if we should just make a separate demo project and do this in there just to give us a little bit more visibility into what's happening. Oh, interesting. So this should be visible region, right? Because we don't want the distance from the middle of the collection view. We want the distance from the middle of the visible region. Maybe I'm wrong. Thinking about it, I'm just gonna go to the washroom quickly. I will be right back in just a moment. back to what I was saying. We solved one difficult thing of two. Let's see if we can make it 2 for 2. So I was just pondering whether um, so yeah, we're getting the elements for, or layout attributes for the elements in the rect. Great. But maybe we are making a boo-boo here at this spot here. So when we're calculating the difference, you would think that this would work, but maybe it doesn't. So maybe we need to calculate this a little bit differently and do it as the visible region dot origin like that. Because the problem that we're experiencing is that the layout is not relative to the location that we're seeing in the collection view. We're running. Oh yeah, there we go. All right, we solved the problem. We did it. That's exactly what I wanted. Perfect. Okay, we're still gonna need to figure out like this cluster here, right? Because that's not that's not what we want. But yeah. Okay, so great. Good, good. So now that we've got that figured out, this doesn't need to be nearly so extreme. This might be too minimal, but you can't even see that. Yeah, we got Rock Pusher. It was just silliness where I was calculating things relative to the middle of the collection view instead of the visible region, which I had created last time, and I had put it in some places, but I had not put it everywhere that it needed to be, obviously. And so yes, things can work this way, which is good. So that's still maybe too minimal, but it's getting better. Again, we'll fix the Y coordinates of those because that is a little stupid, but yeah, okay, so there's that. Try 20. This is good. This is good. All the problems that we created for ourselves last time, we have solved this time, which is exactly where we want to be. And like, yeah, I'm very happy with how that scaling is working now because it looks super polished. This is looking better. Okay, so that's good. So now we need to add rotation to the mix. So So how much do we want to rotate it? So here we're getting the difference, but we're always considering the difference positive. So we're calculating the percent away from the center, and then uh, giving it a y transform. So we're transforming down by 20 points times the percentage of the offset from the center. But so this is, we should probably change this to absolute difference. And then just have difference. For that we want this. Actually refactor this. So actually, we can actually just move the absolute value to there. Otherwise, we'll get a diagonal line. Well, let's just make sure that this works how we want it to. So, like, this should give us a diagonal line of cards, I think. We're still getting warnings down here because we're placing cards outside the bounds of the collection view, which is not allowed, but we're doing it anyway because we're rebels. Yeah, so we're getting a, as I say, a diagonal line here of cards. So that's not what we want. So this needs to be abs. But CG floats. Dot pi times. Let's just see what that does. You might need to negative this. This could look just awful, but it might be exactly what we want. Who knows? Lol. So that's not what we want. It looks pretty cool, but it is not what we want. Ah, we drew a card. I think it's rotating too much. I think that's the problem. Uh, yeah, this is some real flair card dealing here. Okay, we're getting there. I think it's still way too extreme. Oh, hey. That's basically what we want. Like, more or less. Um, okay. So, I still think it's too extreme. Yeah, Talia Pimp. It is an app. That's correct. So, it's an app emulating the deck of many things from Dungeons and Dragons, and I'm just working on making the draw experience more interesting by giving the user a fan of cards that they can draw from. Um, like so. Still gonna take some work, but we're getting there. So I think that our offset needs to be, our vertical offset needs to be greater. And we're gonna give it just an extra little nudge down so that we stop cropping the top of our cards. Okay, that's not bad. We still have this thing where the cards are like seeming to pop up and down a little bit too much, maybe. Um, all in all, it looks pretty good though. Yeah, that's the hope. I mean, I'm hoping that if I can create something like this, I loved the deck of many things when I was a kid. And like what happened, of course, is it showed up in like one campaign, and then like everyone's campaign started using it. Um, and so like everyone I knew ran a campaign that had the deck in it, and uh, and it became sort of a thing, like a running joke. Like eventually the campaign would find a deck, and then you would draw cards, and then you'd all die or get trapped in the donjon or whatever. It just seemed like a fun way to play with, or a fun app to experiment with. Because really, what I'm here for is to like play with these transitions and stuff, and see what we can do into to make like a cool app that does neat things and whatnot. Oh right, my drag to dismiss is gone because it's in a different branch. That's okay. We'll integrate both branches, and then we will have both cards at the bottom in that. Okay, so we need to fix the fact that the cards are sort of like looking like they overlap each other in weird ways, because that's not what we want. So I think maybe attributes copy dot z index. Okay, I want to see what z index actually is. It's an int, default is 0. So if I just say that is equal to layout attributes, is the index path stored? Oh, it is. Okay, so layout attributes index path item. That should mean that it always the far left card is always at the back, and all the subsequent cards are at the front. Now that might actually be the opposite of what we want, but let's just see if this gives us kind of what we want here, because we don't want the cards to like stack up weirdly on each other as we go back and forth. We want them to always be in a row, in a correct order. Good. That is exactly what we want. Okay. Good. Okay. That's looking pretty good. I like it. I like it a lot. So next up, I would like it to transition between this and this so that you can actually like feel like you are drawing physical cards. So that there's a clean transition from down here. I just want to experiment with something. So I had made the cards pretty close together, or sorry, pretty far apart to make sure that the touch points here were close enough, or was it that there was like a large enough touch point for each individual card? I think that we've got some more room to play with here. So, because this is the smallest possible device, I think we can make it smaller. So, this was the fan view. So I'd said negative 100. This is negative 200. So this will push the cards closer together and presumably give us more on screen at once, which could look more impressive, but could just be overwhelming. That's not good. Too much, I suppose. Negative 150? Okay, so now they're like much closer together. That might be too many cards. I like still feel like I want less of a sensation of them popping like that, but so like as they get to the center they pop all the way up into the middle, but anyway, let's try 125, see if that fixes things, see where that leaves us. I also want to see what this looks like on different devices. I'll maybe load it up on my iPad when we're done tonight, but um, okay, this is pretty good. This gives us like more cards in view, but before we had like 3, and that's maybe too few. But this is about right, and the touch points for like how big these are to actually touch looks about correct. Okay, let's go ahead and okay. I guess I wanted to make this. Yeah, so this is gonna. I'm gonna need to come back to this. Let's see. Because the fan view's height is equal to the total height of the view times 0.6, which is the same as the height of this. But that means on the iPad is that these cards are going to be huge along the bottom. I mean, that doesn't matter that much, but I kind of feel like we could do better. I'm not going to worry about it too much right now. Let's get it working on the phone first and worry about the iPad later. So, Sally and Pimpo, I don't know if you're still there, but the other cool thing that we've done here is if we go back, I have implemented settings where you can switch between 3rd and 5th edition rules. Right now this looks awful. I need to go back and change this because it's just as placeholder can get. But the idea is to also put Pathfinder and various old school clones in there as well, so that the rules that you see. So if I switch it to 3rd edition, say the rules that you see are reflective of that edition, and those are straight from the system reference document, aka the core rule books. So that's kind of cool too. Whoop. All right, and that transition needs to fix. A lot of this stuff needs to get fixed eventually, but for right now, I am not worrying too much about it, because when it comes down to it, like a fancy transition for something like this is pretty easy to do, as compared to what we're doing with this stuff and transitioning between this and the other views and whatnot. So getting stuff like that to look good. And then we can worry about the fact that the cards don't have backs and there's no texture or anything down here, or whatever else. There's a lot that you can do here. Okay, let's merge this branch in. Oh, I deleted the comment and stuff. That's fine. So, well, that's a whip. That's why. So, well, we need to go here. So, CD. custom fan. We know it's custom. Add fan layout to draw view card fan. So now our master should have, that was not Xcode that I hit run in. I wonder what command R did in tower. Unknown. So now we should have a branch that contains both those last two sets of changes, the fan view and the dismiss thing. And of course it's running on the iPad, so that's gonna mess up. Oops. I realized that just too late that time. Though I guess I could tell you guys how it looks on the iPad. I think that it's gonna be really big. That's fine. Here's the iPad sort of figuring its stuff out. That flickering. I apologize for the flickering. Okay, so we have this, and then if that opens, and we still have our swipe to close. Great. Looks good. Looks very good. Whoop. Yeah, exactly. It's the theater of the mind. That's what we're doing here. Well, all right. It's funny. Every time I get one of these things working correctly, it's just I'm like, yeah, look at it. It's moving and stuff. Oh wow, that's so cool. Okay. So now what? So now we have that. What I want to do is try and get it so that when we click on one of these, instead of it just sort of zooming up from the center like that, that it actually rotates out into the front where it's supposed to be. So that could be interesting, but we've done worse, maybe. So yeah. I'm gonna go back to the card view. Now, so we have this context for presenting and dismissing, but we also need to know whether it is presenting from the fan or whether it is presenting from the carousel. because if it's presenting from the fan, then it needs to animate out. When it's dismissing, it always goes to the same place, so that's fine. But presenting, definitely, we need to animate from the correct place. Now, I guess the way that we would do that, let's see how we're... It's funny as well because, again, I spent so long not working on this that I forget what I was... how I did things. So, to review... When we want to draw a card, present new card. Okay, so we already have built into our present method whether or not the card is new. And this is where we create the card view controller. So this is where we're going to have to define whether it is a new card. We could also say so I think right now, Galen Luck, the plan is to make just the standard deck, which is also an interesting problem. I discovered that the original deck of many things, the white box one, it didn't even use the special cards like the Sun, Moon, Throne, Crown, what have you. It used just like standard playing cards, so it's like the Ace of Spades does this, the 10 of Diamonds does this. I don't even think it used tens. I think it was just face cards. So I've actually been considering for like that version of it. First of all, I need to find an OSR clone that I can like use that is made available under the Open Gaming license. But after that, I have been thinking of, for that particular deck, just replacing all of my friend Ash's awesome illustrations with just some standard art from a deck of cards. To simulate that, but still have like the rules text and stuff show up. What I would like to do, I think, is actually, and this might be a little bit down the road, work on a system whereby people can create their own cards and put those in. So like you could create like custom cards and have those added to the deck. I think that would be really sweet. But we're still a little ways away from that at this point. But because I mean, my custom cards, who cares? Your custom cards, if you're the dungeon master, that's what you want, and it could be just a fun toy for making custom deck of many things cards, and using those. So again, the amount of labor that has gone into getting us to this point is pretty high. So it could be a little while before we get there because I just want to get the fundamentals down first. But I think it would be very cool to have that. And I mean, theoretically, there's a possibility that we could have... it might be cool if I'm like shooting the moon to go to someone like... I don't know, a game designer like Mike Selinker or someone and be like, hey, do you want to design a bunch of cards for this? And, put them out as like a promotion or something for Extra Life. That could be kind of neat. But then we'd have to figure out how to make downloadable content work. And that is a whole other thing that I have not ever looked into. But Also, I think that some of the card effects might be different for some of the like really old editions, so that's also worth noting. Okay, back to work. So we're working on, so there's our card transition animation controller that we are using. So for this one, I think that we would need to say whether or not it's a new card. So um, I'm just gonna go back to the initializer here, and just add that in. So new card. Yeah. So now we've got some bugs, obviously, because our previous invocations do not have that. So say right, so that needs to be called by the delegate. So how is that supposed to work? So if that's the case, so the card view controller is the transitioning delegate. So it needs to know whether or not the card is a new card. So we'll put it here. Um, and okay. So good. And then when the delegate asks, oh, I see what's happening. Okay, so we're setting these, but then if we don't have them, we will get them from there. Um, that's why we did that. In any case, we can now safely say new guard. Okay. Okay, so now that's getting pretty messy, so let's spread that out a little bit. Right, so I'd forgotten that this is basically a fallback, just because that's optional. Regardless, the card view controller should know whether it's a new card, so that is good. Do the same thing here and just spread this out a little bit. And this is like that. Okay. Surely there are more ramifications to this. Like right there, for example. Okay. So that doesn't accomplish too much. It just passes around the information, so we know whether the card that we drew is a new card as opposed to one that we're just viewing from the carousel that we've viewed before. So one of these as opposed to one of those. Okay. So now what? So now in our animations, the source of the card so this already knows about the drawn index. Yeah, okay. So and what are we doing if it's drawn from, because it's a drawn index, but the fan index is also important here because we need to be able to track down the metrics of the card that we are drawing from the fan. So we need the deck index as well. So instead of new card, maybe we should be passing along the deck index. Because anything with a deck index is going to be a new card. Anything that doesn't have a deck index is going to be is not going to be a new card, right? So if we say deck index, drawn index, and the deck index is optional, then we can test for the deck index to see if we should go draw it from the drawn index or draw it from the deck index. How could this fail? It seems to be okay. Okay, so in that case, New card can become deck index. It's an optional integer. And then draw an index. And so then we need to fix this. Okay, this should already be causing issues. So I guess for the stuff in here, this is like if it's not set, which is never going to be the case, we will say I guess my next question would be if we can, instead of actually like invoking the, like invoking and creating the these transition controllers, whether, because we can just create these here. Like we don't actually necessarily need to present them and assign them there. I think that's the case. We should test that after we're done this stuff, because this is like we're like repeating code all over the place here now, and I don't like that. Okay, so so here we need the same thing. We need this is going to change to drawn index. So this needs to be drawn index. Okay. So we'll pass along the deck index then. There. Okay, so now here, see what happens. So here now we need a deck index. This is why I wanted to change this to drawn index. Fortunately, like I put on this Final Fantasy music, but I actually can't hear it this time. I have no idea what is up with my sort of audio loopback system right now, but I am not able to hear the music at all, which is too bad because I would like to hear a Chocobo theme right now. That would be very good. I would appreciate hearing Chocobos. Work, work, work. Okay. Okay. So. Right. Okay. That's an optional integer. So now, if we go back to our draw view controller, the other thing here is that when we have for this present card, we have this new card boolean, which I think is only actually used here. So let's get rid of that and see what happens. That should be passing the deck index. And then we can take these arguments out. Card view controller wants to know if it's a new card or just oh right, because I just put that in there. So that doesn't need to know that anymore. And the deck index can just go away. right? Because we never use that information for anything anymore. And this is like a whole bunch of changes to do nothing yet, just to get the information where we need it. Just make sure that we didn't break it. Okay, everything seems to be working as expected. So we actually ended up changing there. So yeah, this now passes in the deck index. Just clean this up to look a little nicer. For those new to the stream, welcome, by the way. One of the reasons that I play video game music is because, well, actually, the main reason is that I'm pretty sure it's VOD safe because it just appears everywhere, especially in video games, which are always on Twitch. So if it turns out not to be VOD safe, as is the case, for example, for things made by Nintendo, then it's not, and oh well, someone else will take the zero revenue that that the videos are making. But you know, that's okay. That is all right. I had one video monetized by somebody else on YouTube for using Nintendo music, and I realized that was not a good idea. So no more Nintendo music, but other video game music, fair game. Maybe I should play Fortnite music. Maybe that would. I don't even know if Fortnite has music, but maybe that would get me lots of traffic. We'll say pass deck index of drawn cards to commit. So, all right, now we have after all that, we finally have. I should probably break out this animator into its own class. I mean, it is in its own class, but I should probably put it in its own file. It's getting pretty massive. So now we know what the deck index is. So now that we know what the deck index is, we can make some. In the presenting context, right now, we do all this calculation to figure out where the card should go. So we figure out so this is the stuff that's going to have to change if we have a I guess it's not that stuff that's going to have to change. It is the... Is it? Now that I think about it. Yes, it is. So it is this stuff that is going to have to change because the card view controller stuff is not going to change. So... so I guess it will be... if let... deck index equals deck index. Let size equal Equals source. Say. Drawview.fanview. Okay. That's correct. Okay, so I guess we'll do it this way. We'll just calculate it like that. Clean up, clean up, clean up. We're not done yet, because the center is the other thing. I don't want to have to keep unpacking this in particular over and over again. What can I do to make this better? Because I can do the same sort of thing over and over again, but it's kind of annoying. I guess it's not that bad. Yeah, okay. So let's move this up here. Maybe not. It's like making all this much more annoying, but I wonder if there's just a way to. That's not gonna work. I guess we could set defaults and then fill them in. I'm like super unhappy to do that, but I'm just trying to think of a prettier way to write this where it just doesn't look awful. Like I'm not super happy about this. You know what? This is ridiculous. The size is the same for both the collection views. They both have the same size of cell. Yeah, that's true. They do. Still, Okay. So now what do we do? We say implicitly unwrap this for now. Okay. And then rotation. We need rotation too. Hmm. Okay, interesting. So we need the current rotation of the card. Okay. So I guess we want to see between and that. Very helpful. Oh, I see. So oh, it's matrices. I see. I don't know anything about matrices. Okay, so we'll change it to a float. Thank you. Okay, so I have no idea if this is gonna work, but we could try it and see what happens. Oh, rotation. That is the problem. Well, it rotated from the right angle. It's like starting coordinate is way off. See, like this one, interesting. Okay, so it's like wrong on the y-axis, but it might not be wrong on anything else. I appreciate that, Delta V. I need to I actually like need to learn more about some of this stuff because it's Yeah, it looks like this is pretty much correct aside from the Y being in the wrong spot. Um, Again, the Y being in the wrong spot. Rotatos. Yeah, the rotatos for. I'm hoping that come WWDC, all of AppKit will be rotatoed, and maybe some big chunks of UI kit, and we get some wonderful large framework that unifies all of Apple's platforms, and everything else rotates out of standard, and we don't have to worry about it anymore. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think that's going to happen. It's probably going to be something a little jankier than that. I do want to solve this problem right now, but I am going to have to take off pretty quick. It is getting to be that time of the night. So we'll try and see if we can solve this, but if we can't, that's okay too. It's interesting. It looks like that's probably why. So the target point's been converted from the wrong place. So if we want to do this, okay, this might be a quick fix. If let's see what's happening here. It's being we're using the wrong we're converting from the wrong collection view. So if drawn index not equals 0, not equal nil. That's a point. Yeah, Delta V, I need to go and like spend more time in the just the core graphics and core animation docs, because it's like stuff that I always feel like I want to be better at. That's actually why I'm doing this project in large part, is to sort of play around with some of this stuff a little bit more. Do things I wouldn't normally do. Yeah, Rock Pusher, you're right. I'd say that this is like one of the more successful nights, considering that I started and I was like, guys, I'm so burned out. I don't know what to do. So, yeah. I feel like this went pretty well considering that. Deck index, the wrong index. Okay, let's see if that fixes our problem. And if it does, fantastic. And if it doesn't, I have to go to bed anyway. So that's going to be that. Probably not straight to bed, but to bed pretty soon because, as I say, I started pretty burned out. So, and Gale and Luck, I will absolutely thank Tally for sending you to the stream. I deleted my Twitter account, which has done fantastic things for me in a lot of ways. I really enjoy having done that. It makes me feel like I am, I don't know, not constantly trying to be on and perform, which is helpful. But it means it's difficult to publicize when I'm doing stuff. So that's not necessarily a good thing. And it looks like our animations are working pretty well. I think they're working pretty well anyway. I think the scale might be off. I'm not totally sure. It looks like they might not be like scaling up. I can't tell. You know how we could tell in slow animations. Looks like it's pretty good. Wow, okay. Well, that was a lot less worse than I thought it was going to be. Because this is looking pretty good. Yeah, pretty happy to be without Twitter. Facebook is hard. Facebook is difficult to get away from. It sort of, because everyone puts their events and things on Facebook, so it's difficult to delete your Facebook account. But I'll get there soon. Ash's art is really, really good. The Sun and Moon ones are by far the best, I think, in my opinion. Okay, when I say by far the best, I'm like, they are my personal favorites. The Moon one is really nice. And yeah, the Sun one is great. Ash has done some fantastic work on this, and I'm glad that now the app is starting to look like it lives up to that work. This is looking pretty great. Okay, thanks for joining me, folks. This has been a good stream. We solved all the problems we created last time, which makes me very happy. And we created some new problems and then solved them, and we ended up with something that is pretty presentable, which is how I like to leave things, because now I can send Ash an alpha over the weekend and be like, look at how nice it looks, look at how great your art looks. Yeah, I don't know what we're gonna do next week yet. There's still some more to do, but that is like the most that's like most of the stuff that I was really worried about so far, so we can work on refining that and getting some more content in, so getting some more rules in. There's still some bugs and things that I want to sort out, but we're in pretty good shape. So thank you for joining me tonight. This has been fun, and I will see you again next week.